Tom was quite pleased with how things were going, despite the curveball Baron had thrown at them. The music was in full swing, though Tom had been excused from the dancing for a bit. And Jackie had managed to get him sick by playing ballerina with him. Even though he was pretty much good to go again by now, he was still enjoying just watching for a bit. Glira and crew were busy stuffing their faces, sounding merry as could be. Worryingly, Tom had spotted both Tink and Junior making their way over to her and sitting down for a chat. Tom knew they had worked together before on some of her contraptions, and he had a feeling that Tink's remarkable constraint was going to be coming to an end tonight. The invent had been kept in check thus far, mostly by the sheer amount of stuff Tom had been trying to teach him. The guy was bright, and Junior even more so, and Tom didn't really want to worry about what might come out of those two getting creative, but he had a feeling he probably should. A concerned Ray, seeing Tom sitting alone, had come over to ask if there was anything she could help with. Tom had asked her to fetch a bottle from his stores. This seemed like a good enough excuse to use it, even if Tom didn't plan to share it freely. Ray got a large glass, of course, which she actually accepted, without trying to refuse it for once. Tom always wanted to pet her for that. Good God, that was a weird way to think. He settled for a little small talk instead, while he sat, watching the party unfold. That was probably more appropriate. Had a good day so far?
Yeah,
Ray answered, looking genuinely happy, smiling wide.
Look at them all, and Tigwan's here. We had a good chat, me and him, as you all started dancing. I mean, he's pretty drunk by now, and tried to tell me how if anything had happened to me, he would have melted the keep's foundations. I think he realised how people looked at him after that. He doesn't like scaring people. He spent the next while trying to backpedal to the point he would just spit at the rock a little bit.
Did he now? Tom replied, trying not to let his surprise show.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't mean it. Apparently Baron told a scary story. Did you hear it?
She questioned, looking to him. Yeah, I did, Tom replied, pouring another drink for himself, offering her the bottle too. I did not like that one. Ray looked at him for a second, as Tom felt the all-too-familiar sensation of someone seeing right through him. God damn it, she's just like Essie, isn't she? Either that or I'm shit at this, he cursed himself, looking down at the glass. I blame you for this.
It's okay. Everyone keeps talking about everything you have done. I'm sure we are going to be fine.
Ray went, as she started petting him. Tom just looked ahead, taking another drink. Fucking hell. Esmeralda and Kakashi had come up, Kakashi having his violin in hand. Two Royal Guard soldiers also backed them up, one being Twitch of all people, holding what looked like some kind of flute. Twitch caught Tom staring, looking a bit annoyed. What? It's a perfectly acceptable instrument, he protested, leading Tom to believe he had probably been told otherwise quite a few times before. This is just getting better, Tom chuckled to himself, looking to Essie. Would you mind? We want to have a crack at it. Just turn it down so I can ask if anyone else plays, Essie said, looking back at the little group. Sure thing, go ahead, Tom replied, getting out the phone and slowly turning down the music. Ray was still petting him, as Essie looked at the two of them rather curiously.
He's just a little worried after Baron's scary story,
Ray explained, looking at Esmeralda, who just nodded slowly before looking at Tom. Remember what I said yesterday? You have done so much. Look around. Had you not shown up, none of this would be happening. None of it. Half the people here would be dead. You wanted this little breather for everyone. That includes you. Esmeralda went in a kind but stern tone. Tom raised his glass in reply. Cheers to that. Good man. Just don't drink yourself to death in one night, okay? Essie replied with a mischievous smile growing on her face that didn't really match the motherly tone of her advice. If only Mum could see this, she would be so proud. Tom went looking around. Dad too, for that matter, though he would be asking why I haven't had Kullinger teach me to make a nice chair or something. He would have loved the bows, though. Tom continued, taking another drink as Ray kept petting him. What a strange evening. Essie had seemingly been satisfied that he wasn't too sad to enjoy the party, or whatever criteria of success she was working by, and she turned to go address the confused dancers, who were wondering where the music had gone. Listen up, everyone. Anyone who has an instrument they play, gather over by the benches there, Essie went, pointing over in front of where Grevy was laying down and still bobbing her head to the quiet music. That will be all, Essie went with a smile, looking back to Tom before trotting over to the Green Dragon. Don't go anywhere, I think you're going to like this one. It had taken a bit, but eventually they got a few extra faces, making a small band. They dragged a few tables together and made a little makeshift stage, Tom turning down the music again when they looked more or less ready. People quieted down, going over to the little stage, most sitting down to listen. Jackie came over to Tom and picked him up like some kind of prize, sitting down in front of the stage, putting him on her lap. You know I can walk by myself, right? Tom chuckled, just finding it funny.
I know, I can too,
Jackie replied blankly, hugging him from behind, nuzzling him lovingly. Right, okay, ready? Essie questioned, looking back at her little merry band. Tom spotting Luke from Deriva, who had also made his way onto the stage with what looked especially like a guitar. Only now did Tom spot Linkosa seemingly hard at work with a puma over to the side. He hadn't even noticed her around thus far today, and judging by a cymbal she was finishing up covering on the ground around the tables, this was going to be good. She finished inscribing her cymbals before giving Esmeralda a thumbs up. Quiet please, or I'll break your ears, Essie went with a smile, first starting to tap. She snapped her fingers 3 times before they started their performance. Damn short notice, Tom thought to himself, guessing this was probably one of those songs everyone sort of knows. Well, at least Dragonettes. The music was pretty damn good. They could clearly play. Well, at least most of them. Tom had a sneaking suspicion what those runes Linkosa had carved might be doing. Grevy's foreleg serving as the drums was a nice touch. They were certainly not lacking for bass. Essie, though, was fucking amazing. She sang her heart out loud enough she might as well have had a microphone. Tom didn't catch most of the lyrics, just savouring the sound instead. Sure, speakers were good, but this was still the real deal. It was a story about a group of people having to fight at every turn against all the world had to throw at them. Quite fitting, all things considered, Tom thought. As they progressed, the song became quieter and sadder, with tales of sacrifice, and loss and desperation, sounding like it was all going to end in tears. Tom was certainly caught off guard when Grevy slammed her towel into the ground, adding her own voice to the song, singing about defiance and the refusal to give up, no matter what. She certainly didn't need any help being heard. Her voice was deep yet feminine, with enough bass to fit in at a car meet. Essie countered, singing about everything she had suffered, her will to fight all but gone. The song turned into a discussion between the two of them, Essie finally yielding and agreeing to fight not for herself, or those she lost, but for the sake of the future and all its people, so they may too have something worth fighting for. Up in the skies, high above, where winds will howl and the rain will pour, a realm of the sky and cloud, we will make our stand with every wing and claw. Eternal war we have fought, and shall endure forevermore. So hear me now, my final song, for when it is done I will not be here no more. Live, live your life for me and you, for I can't, so you must do. My final wish is for you to live, so taste the wine, feel the wind, embrace the light till the end of time. Live your life, for it is yours. So we fight for what is right, chasing the beasts from our door. When they come, we shall prepare, for every wing we know is our sacred friend. For their sake we face the end, side by side with all who dare. We will not flee, for if we do, we'll be lost. With every fight comes a cost, alive or dead, you may all be lost. So, live your life while you can, live for the lost and those who stand, their final wish to buy you time, so you may have your one true life. Spend it well, it's your only one, feel the grass and watch the skies. The music slowed down and grew more somber. But when the fight has been won, I stand alone. I lost it without my friends. My life is gone, why would I fight for what I have lost? They are gone from my life, I want to go where they all went. Not stay here where I have naught. I feel the wind, drank the wine. I felt the grass so nice and green. I watched the clouds, danced all night. I did it all and lived my life. Now I sit alone in a broken home. Alone. Grevy joined in, turning it into a duet. The music grew harder and more aggressive, picking up a bit of speed. Then you fight with all your might, not for you but them. You have lived and so should they. But I fought my war, and I gave it all. What is left is for me alone. I have made peace with what I've done, and you believe it's not enough? Your final day of breath, your final gift, not for you but those who follow. We will fight not for us or our friends, we fight for all who count. But I have none to guard, I have none to save. I am the last, my egg's gone, my next of kin won't see the sun, my nearest friend, the depths of hell. Then you forget, you did not come here from naught. Those who fought knew you not, be they from distant lands or neighbouring plots, they all fought till death. Those you will betray if you give up, so you will stand in their honour, stand and fight for what you've got, as they once did, you shall do. So when they come, the night and all its beasts, we will not yield, not run, we will face the end. For when we don't fight for what we see, for all we know and all that we don't, so have a crack we will stand. When we give up, night will endure. The kids must learn to live like we have lived, to learn its call, to pass it on. We fight for those who are coming next, to give them all they deserve. It was certainly quite the performance. Tom had to give them that. He had never quite considered the power behind a dragon's voice when it came to singing, not to mention that Gravy made a pretty good percussion instrument too. Essie was absolutely amazing as always, but she had been singing her heart out for this one. She was actually leaning on Kakashi as they bowed, looking a little ill. The crowd cheered, and Tom joined in too, doing his best cat call, which gained him some curious glances. The band had played a few more songs, so they seemingly rather quickly ran out of ones that they all knew. Not to mention they only had Grevy as a singer now, and she wasn't really able to do anything high-pitched, so to say. When the music had petered out, Tom had put the speakers back on. The dancing resumed apace. Jarex had already slipped up twice on the dance floor. Luckily, no one had gotten hurt, and people had learned to keep their distance by now, much to Tom's relief. Tom was just watching from the sidelines, enjoying a mug of this new bubble beer. Right now, he was keeping an eye on Unkai and Fengi to see if he was going to need to apologise again. It was pretty clear Unkai had been practicing dance moves, but as a surprise to exactly nobody, it would seem it was all old school stuff. Fengi had clearly been busy on the day she talked Tom into letting her borrow one of the speakers. The result was a whole slew of new moves that everyone seemingly struggled to copy. Just like Tom had predicted, she had gotten a lot of attention on the dance floor, especially once the young soldiers from Glera's crew finished eating. One of the new recruits Tom didn't quite know yet even tried putting his arm around her waist, near enough resting her hand on her ass. Fengi was very polite about it, simply picking his arm off her and scooting right up against Unkai, who looked like a kid who just had a cat set in his lap. She danced close to him for a bit, just as Tom had predicted. Wait, is this a bad thing? He had to question, at the thought of trying to make things happen that maybe shouldn't. Still feeling sick? Jackie questioned, trotting over with a spring in her step, though her face actually looked apologetic for once. Nah, I'm fine. I think it's working, he said, pointing at Fengi and Unkai. Ha! You finally got back at her for that whole thing in the woods with us two, Jackie replied, turning to look and letting out a gleeful little laugh. Tom looking up at her as she stood nicely silhouetted by the firelight. Tom sat quietly for a second, looking at Jackie, and thinking back to how Fengi rather forcefully clued him in that Jackie was interested in him, and how he had almost ruined things. I guess so, Tom admitted with a chuckle, not able to take his eyes off her. Yeah, it's just payback, he mused to himself. Judging by how he and Jackie had turned out, it probably wasn't a bad thing either. Tom looked through the playlist again, wanting something perhaps a little faster to see what Fengi would do. She was good, but how good exactly? He grew an evil grin as he stumbled on a true classic from when he grew up. He put Hamster Dance on cue, snickering to himself and looking at Jackie. This ought to be a curveball. Jackie just looked back at him, blinking once. What did you do? You'll see. Come on, you crazy beautiful woman. Let's see just how crazy you can get. That better be crazy beautiful and not crazy and beautiful, Jackie went with a happy chuckle, letting herself get dragged over to the side of the dance floor, as Tom set about taking her through the moves he could remember. He also threw in a few extra moves to take advantage of his strongly built dance partner, and the fact they were in half grav. You are kidding me, Jackie asked, shaking her head a bit, and looking at him like he was a fucking lunatic. Oh, come on, it'll be fucking hilarious. Fine, but it'll cost you a favour for later. Fuck it, deal. You know the rules though, no Daka, Tom replied with a raised finger. Yeah, we've been over this, Jackie replied with an exasperated sigh, rolling her eyes and crossing her arms for maximum effect. So, how high do you want me to throw you? Saf had been enjoying some light-hearted dancing with Marko. Nothing fancy, just a bit of good fun. He was good. Then again, she had rather expected that. She wasn't really much of a dancer, at least not on the ground, but still it was good fun. Then the music had changed to a song that she didn't recognise, and it sounded quite ridiculous. What the hell is that? Saf questioned, trying not to laugh. Most of the dance floor came to a halt, even Fengi looking perplexed. Then an excited-looking Tom made his way into the crowd, dragging Jackie along. She was looking less than confident right now, rare as that may be. Oh, this should be good, Saf mused, as the two of them took up positions opposite Fengi and a rather scared Unkai. Come on, you dumb boy, you want Fengi? Here you go, Saf cursed, though she was soon struggling not to break out laughing as Jackie and Tom set about a truly strange set of moves in front of everyone. They were quite simple, but damn if they didn't look funny. Seeing Tom act like he was licking an ear that wasn't there had done Sapphire in for a bit, and seeing Jackie actually licking his ear had been even funnier. What a strange display. The dude's got some nerve pulling that, Marko chuckled, as Fengi inevitably set about copying Tom and Jackie move for move. Saf got her laughter under control in time to see Unkai get his shit together, just about managing to be ready for the part where Fengi needed a partner. There we go, finally, Saf sighed, listening to the strange music. What the hell is a hamster? She questioned to herself, as she was grabbed by the hand. She didn't recognise Marko's plan until she was standing opposite him, as part of a line of half and wholly drunk dragonets doing their best impression of whatever this hamster creature was. Okay, this is humiliating, Saf cursed to herself, staring at Marko and trying to convey her displeasure through a stare. Oh, come on, you only live once, Marko let out, Saf not getting the chance to protest before she was whipped around into his arms. I hate you, she grumbled, looking up at him from her precarious position. She was still looking up as Tom sailed skywards with an exclamation of, "Fucking hell, Jackie!" The human sort of floated around a bit, doing an involuntary backflip, which was all very entertaining. What? I got carried away. Jackie had even had time to answer before she caught the human again. Damn, Saf let out, Marko getting her back on her feet as all the women looked at each other and their dance partners. Saf took note that Marko looked a little uncomfortable. Okay, I'll play this game, Saf smirked. Hang on, I think I need to see that one again. Hey, Jackie? Saf shouted out, gaining her attention. What? Can I borrow you for a second? Saf shouted out, hoping she could be heard over the music. Jackie just shrugged and walked over, leaving Tom to teach his drunken crowd the secrets of this hamster dance. What you need? I just wanted to see that trick again. It was very impressive. Saf went with a wink. Jackie snorted, seemingly bemused. Sure thing, Saf. What needs throwing? Saf just pointed at Marko, Jackie eyeing the comparatively rather diminutive corporal. Saf just looked at him with a smirk, then glanced upwards. Come on, it'll be fun. Marko locked eyes with Jackie, straightening his back as if he wanted to challenge her. Sure, why not? Anything for you, Saf. Saf just shook her head, leaning to whisper to Jackie, Everything you've got, please. Jackie just smiled evilly, folding her hands into a step, having Marko step up into her grasp. Right, okay, I'm fine! And off he goes. Saf chuckled as Jackie grunted, launching the small corporal straight up with enough force to sink her feet into the ground. That was a good one, Jackie replied, looking up and admiring her work. Yeah, it didn't even scream that much. No, not really. Tom was worse, actually, and he knew what was coming too, and I went easy on him. We should try and catch him, right? I don't know, actually. He's coming back down, though, and the wings aren't out. Want to give me a hand? Anything for you, Saf, Jackie replied sarcastically, doing a rather horrible impression of the corporal as they got ready to catch him. Well, Tom certainly didn't have the altitude record anymore. That had just been ridiculous. He had honestly reconsidered if it had been a smart idea, as Jackie's eyes had flared bright iridescent green before she threw him towards the sky. It was excellent fun, though, and he didn't scream that much. With the living catapult currently being distracted by Saf, Tom's attention had turned to making the most of his current lack of social sensibilities. The best part was that even if he looked like an idiot teaching to poor fuckers who had decided this was funny, they looked even dumber when they messed it up. All in all, Tom was having a great time as Cotton Eye Joe decided it was time to shine. Oh, it's like partying back at school again, Tom chuckled. Good God, I was an alcoholic back then. Hey, Fengi, figured out any I can do yet? Jarek then questioned, peering down on them from above, the dragon having been observing for a bit. Actually, never mind, I'll work it out, Jarek slurred in reply, stepping back to a safe distance. Tom's little lesson came to an abrupt end as he tried his best not to laugh his ass off as Jarek did what could best be described as that damn dancing dog from Dark Souls, before looking around at the people now all either gawking or laughing. Well, don't just stand there. The poor guy is dancing alone, Tom replied with a laugh, launching into what he thought was a well-practiced and rather old set of moves, that to the outside observer probably looked more like a drunk idiot having a great time, which was also accurate. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Tom shouted out as Jarek started hammering away the beat with his tail, certainly lending a different cadence to the song. I want to dance too. What do I do? Tiguan had questioned, bounding over to the dance floor. A rather concerned-looking Ray was hanging onto a horn for dear life. She looked like she was rather secure up there, as long as Tiguan didn't do any headbanging, and the dragon had clearly been taking care with his little jump to keep his head steady. Tom couldn't actually help but feel a little envious. It was always the kids clambering about with the dragons having fun. He kind of wanted to try that too. It just wasn't really appropriate. Fengi has soon gotten a draconic dancing school going to the very tune of Cotton Eye Joe, even if Tiguan's efforts could best be described as a drunk guy at a disco who had no clue what he was doing. The massive smile on the dragon's face was more than good enough for Tom, though, as he made sure the next one would be equally hilarious. Unkai looked happy to just be the supporting act, doing what Fengi told him. She certainly seemed to be enjoying herself too, even if once again a crowd started forming around the two of them. Tom was considering whether or not he should do something about that, when Fengi got another idea, as she waved Jarek down to her, the dragon bowing his head to listen. With a shrug, he lowered a wing for Unkai and Fengi, and they continued dancing on his back, even if they needed to have their feet locked in his harness. It ended up looking like some kind of disco rodeo, and Tom added another thing to the list of, I want to try that. Tom could see the defeat in some of the other guys on the ground, even if Gravy's lieutenant got her claws into the recruit that had gotten handsy before, giving him a taste of his own medicine. The two of them soon disappeared for the night.